signs are showing that the GPU shortage will never end. Meanwhile, what did end was LG's involvement in the smartphone market. And lastly, a post-mortem on everyone's favorite plumber, Mario. All that and more on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode
40.
40.
There we
I'm
go.
Chris.
I'm Francisco.
And of course, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you'll notice I'm still not there. But what is always going to be there is the social media at the bottom of the video.
And you know what else is always going to be there? Our social media in the description of whatever podcasting app you're using to listen to this podcast right now.
That's right. We are still remote due to
Indeed.
current events.
Hopefully not for too much longer, but again, like that depends on things. So
Of course.
do be patient with us, please.
That's right. Stay tuned. This is still the podcast. And of course we did take a little bit of a break. And it turns out that the 1 week we took a break, a lot went down.
Indeed. So I guess we're going to be doing a bit of a retrospective on everything that has been happening, even though one of these things
That's
is
right.
actually a lot more recent, and that's
Yes, that's right.
actually the
And
LG stuff.
I do think we also will have like another episode afterwards. We're gonna still be like catching up a little bit. But yes, um honestly, I feel like we should get on with the first big subject, which is going to be the GPU shortage, what everyone's looking towards.
Yes,
And from the way things are sounding, it does not sound like this time it is an Nvidia shame corner. It is not.
it isn't, but honestly, I'm still going to go ahead and press that button.
Oh, that's mean. That is so mean of
It
you.
is still NVIDIA. I got to give them to them. So it appears that the GPU shortage is only getting worse. We have been hearing rumors and statements for quite a while now that stock should have normalized at least a little bit, maybe sometime in February or March. And then these months have already passed by, and things are only looking more bleak after all of this excitement. I don't even know like what the status is right now regarding the RTX 3080 Ti. I don't think that that's going to be released anytime soon, just considering everything that's happening. So apparently, the reason why all of this is happening, and I'm going to go ahead and cite my sources here. This is going to be from an article that I found over at Digital Trends, and the writer for this article, please forgive me for mispronouncing your name because I know I will. This is Truong Nguyen. I feel like I read it
When
better in my head. But
I believe it's a Vietnamese name, right?
I
I
have
think that name is I think that name is officially pronounced Nguyen.
when? Huh.
Nguyen, I think. I think.
Wow. Oh,
We are so sorry.
okay. So Truong Wen. Let's go with that. Sorry either way
Yes.
for mispronouncing your last name. And now with that said, it says over here actually going further down into the article, the shortage seems to stem from Samsung, Nvidia's partner for manufacturing the 8 nanometer node for the RTX 3000 series. It's been reported that Samsung is having a difficult time with its semiconductor yields. A recent report from Digitime suggests that inventory for RTX uh 3000 series. I always get stuck between 3000 series and 30 series, but uh 3000 series will be tight through the third quarter of 2021, which is almost half a year longer than the first quarter date projected by the company's chief financial officer. AMD's prior guidance had suggested that its Radeon cards will be more available after the first half of the year. Amid the ongoing semiconductor shortage, ASUS cautioned investors that it could once again raise prices if supply constraints don't begin to ease. Earlier this year, the company raised the price of its tough gaming GeForce RTX 3080 card from $730 to $1,069 to account for rising manufacturing costs and the U.S. tariff that was reinstated in the final days of the Trump administration. Now, with that said, these graphics like now they're scalping these graphics cards, which is kind of insane.
It's pretty extreme, yes. But of course, you also have to note that there's even more to the story
Oh,
because yes, and now I'm going to cite my sources here from Tweaktown. written by Anthony Gareffa, I believe. Again, sorry if we mispronounced the names. It was reported that Foxconn is admitting that component shortages that they're having on their end are possibly going to last until the middle of next year, 2022.
Oh, that does only
And of
make things
course,
worse.
Foxconn is a major manufacturer when it comes to computer components, chips, all that stuff. And they do provide, chips for a lot of companies, including
Apple.
Samsung, including, I think Nvidia and AMD do also get pieces from them. I don't think Apple does anymore, do they?
I know that they did once upon a time, but I mean that
They
could have
did for a
changed.
while.
Yeah,
Um, and Nintendo also used to get from Foxconn, but here's the thing: Foxconn admitting that these component shortages are lasting that long. Of course, Foxconn is not the only people in the game. All the other manufacturers are probably running into the exact same issues, and that means that there's a complete standstill for almost all electronics. So it's entirely possible that a lot of these stock shortages last until the middle of next year.
that is highly likely because
It is extremely likely.
things have not improved, as we've already addressed. Things have only gotten worse to this point. We are already in Q2 of 2021, and things are only looking more bleak when at first we were hearing that things are going to get a lot better. Though unfortunately, that's just not the case. And I really would not be surprised if, like you said, this ends up carrying over to next year, to 2022, which is just pretty insane. Like, if you wanted a graphics card, honestly, I'm pretty dumbfounded as to what to even recommend to you because
Honestly, if you wanted any electronics at this point, because we're talking about graphics cards, but these components, stuff like that, they affect everything. We've already seen the console shortage of the PS5,
that is
partly as
true.
a result of this.
Yeah,
Um, Switch Pro, again, Nintendo doesn't really get their stuff from Foxconn anymore, apparently. But again, if this is affecting the entire industry, those Switch Pro rumors about this year, kiss them goodbye. That's it. You're not getting a Switch Pro this year.
I mean, I'm still a little bit hopeful that that's something that we might end up seeing. Uh,
This
but you're
this
probably
entire
right.
thing also even affects the automotive industry, 'cause that's the thing. We're talking about these chips and components. A lot of these GPU manufacturers, they're also competing with car manufacturers for this stuff. So it's possible that even cars are gonna get, delayed and in trouble for the coming year and stuff like that.
Yeah, that
This
is
is
true.
really bad.
It is. It is. Like, this is just, oh, man, like, the tech industry is in such an awkward position right now. Though, I guess it still remains to see exactly how it ends up affecting all of these manufacturers or companies throughout the remainder of this year, because we do still have a good chunk of time left. And let let's just see how they end up handling this. If they end up having to delay smartphones or anything like that, or if there is going to be a shortage this year, if not, if it's just going to end up carrying over to next year instead. So let's see. Like, let's see where things end up going. I hope that the Switch Pro does end up happening though, because I want one.
So I am reading here that Apple is in fact still being primarily like serviced from Foxconn. So this also makes me wonder because you mentioned smartphone delays. Is it possible that Apple ends up having to skip this year when it comes to iPhones? Like, is it possible that
That
we do not see a new iPhone this year?
oh boy, it it's possible. It's it's not likely, but it is possible that that would end up being the case, or we might just see it later down in the year, like they usually get announced in September. Maybe we'll see them in October. Well, maybe not. Maybe more like November, or maybe
It's hard to tell, like,
it
because
is.
I mean, again, using not wanting to use the big boogeyman word here, but that particular event that is still ongoing, um,
Wait,
the effects of it.
there you go.
Yes, yes. The effects of it are going to be felt for a very long time. It's going to be a couple of years before we probably normalize completely.
Yeah, yeah. It'll definitely take some time before they recover. However, there is also something else that I've been having in mind, and when I read the headlines to this piece of news, I was genuinely dumbfounded, but also I don't really blame them for jumping ship. And it is the fact that LG gave up on making smartphones, and that is pretty unfortunate. I feel like I say that a lot, but it is just very sad because LG does make very good smartphones, like good value smartphones. I remember the LG G6, for instance, being like one of the best to go Android smartphones just a couple of years ago. When they were competing directly with Samsung, they were competing directly with Google and things like that. So it is sad to see them go. However, uh, maybe that also has to do with the shortage. Maybe they just felt like they may not have enough stock to actually make something that would be competitive enough and that people can still get their hands on. Might still have to do with that, but I think it's just that their phones aren't really very popular. People get either a Samsung or an iPhone. At the very least, that's like mostly the case here in New York City.
I was wondering just how profitable LG smartphone division was because it's entirely possible that they do make way more money from their home appliances division.
Most likely. And their TVs too.
Yeah, the TVs, kitchen appliances. When you think of LG, you honestly don't usually think of smartphones, which again is a shame because, like you're saying, LG smartphones were pretty good, especially for a budget price, and their presence may be sorely missed as the price of iPhone, Samsung phones continue to rise, and there's less and less budget options.
Yeah, yeah. So now we have one less competitor in the business, and that's never a good thing. Competition
I
is
was gonna say,
very
like,
important.
for budget smartphones now, what do you have? You have Google. Is Nokia still in there, or?
No. I wish I knew. Quite frankly, I haven't been keeping up with any Nokia news in that regard, but I don't think that they are. I guess that another budget smartphone manufacturer would also be technically Apple too, because they did make the iPhone SE last year, and that was like a $400 smartphone.
Eh,
Hey, it was a
it's
great
a
phone.
it's a budget it's a budget option, but it's not like Apple primarily works with budget smartphones.
I mean, the same thing goes for Google then. Like the mostly make premium
Does Google
smartphones.
does Google have a premium smartphone option? I thought all of their phones were around $400 or $500.
No, only the C series uh of their Pixels are. Like for instance, I have a Google Pixel 4. This is the premium offering. And then later on, they came out with the Google Pixel 4A. Okay, so not C, A. And then that was supposed to be like the cheaper version of the Google Pixel 4, which retailed, I think, for somewhere around like $300 to $400. I think. Please do not quote me on that, but yeah, like they do make the premium smartphones, and then like later on, they release a cheaper version of that phone that usually happens to have a headphone jack.
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up now. I'm gonna use my own home
Research station.
research station.
Yeah, there you go. Unfortunately, ours is a little bit out of commission since Christopher is actually much better at typing these things out and doing that research than I am. So I just don't really bother. I kind of just stick to my laptop in this case for any kind of research necessities. However,
Uh,
I really wanted to make this joke. Hang on, it doesn't
mhm.
seem like life is so good for LG. There we go. You have
Oh.
no control over the soundboard today.
So I'm looking at it now, and the Google Pixel 5 is about $700 basic,
Yep. Yep.
which I feel like 700 is mid-range.
700. I can see why you would
Don't get me
think
wrong,
that.
don't get me wrong. $700 for a smartphone is stupid expensive, but
Mm.
considering that Apple and Samsung are regularly putting out phones that are well over $1,000, I'm considering 700 mid-range in cost.
I can see where you're coming from. Yeah. Google hasn't dared to touch those grounds yet, and it's because the Google Pixel line of phones has been uh more underwhelming as time goes on. To be completely honest, like
Right.
the
That is why I'm thinking, like, Google is the budget option just because like a lot of people, if they think about iPhone and Samsung, they are specifically looking at those $1,000 models at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and that is
And
interesting.
Google just has a straightforward, cheaper version, I guess.
It just tends to be like the plastic model and stuff. And it does have headphone jacks. So, are you really losing features or are you gaining features by saving money?
I'm happy with my Google Pixel.
Yeah, I bet you
I'm so
are.
happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with mine as well. Minus the fact that this thing does not have a wide angle lens. But besides that, uh, it is sad to
Mhm.
see LG leaving this industry, considering that they were honestly pretty cool. They were making some of the best budget smartphones, I want to say. And now like they do still have other more affordable competition regarding
There
Samsung and
is
iPhone.
there is, but I do feel like it's a little harder to like find. I don't know. It feels like we're sort of merging ourselves into back into that whole little Apple Samsung homogeny. That just doesn't feel very healthy when they're as expensive as they are. And of course, both Apple and Samsung tend to be pretty restrictive in their like operating systems. Because I don't think Samsung just uses straight up Android anymore, right? They use their own proprietary stuff.
So almost every Android smartphone manufacturer does customize Android on their devices to some degree. For the exception of Google, who might have like some very minor changes from the stock version
Well, yeah,
of
yeah.
Android OS. But Samsung,
Well, yeah. No, I know they all like. I know they customize it to an extent, but if I remember correctly, Samsung was customizing it so far. There's basically its own OS. It was like a Galaxy OS or something like that now.
I think they did call it something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Like it wasn't straight. It wasn't really Android anymore. You couldn't really just use regular Android devices or apps anymore. You had to use like Samsung specific stuff.
They do have the Samsung Store, which is like its own app store as well. So yeah, like I can agree with you there. They do have like their own ecosystem going on there.
And of course, Apple has always had its own ecosystem.
Yes, yes. Apple has always been that way. On a lot of Samsung phones, I believe that you do still get the Play Store alongside the Samsung Store, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It, it
However,
it's that's funny.
I mean, hey, they gotta give you options, if you ask me. Um, but yeah, like now the biggest competitors, I would say, to them on the budget side would be OnePlus to a degree because like they're still not very popular here in the West. Sony is not even a competitor over here. Um, and I can think of a couple of other manufacturers, but they're not popping into my head yet. I mean, Google, as you said, like with their budget offerings and stuff, but even their premium offerings are still cheaper than Samsung's and Apple's for that matter.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Now, yeah, so let's give a moment of silence to LG's smartphone division.
indeed.
How unfortunate.
Now, with that moment of silence having ended, we
Let's
do
let's do another moment of silence for our favorite plumber who has passed away, sadly, executed.
absolutely rest in peace. And this all has to do with the fact that Mario officially died on March 31st, I think, right?
Yes,
I-
March 31st, as they promised all the way in September, and we were hoping some turned out to just be some sort of April Fool's Day joke when the time finally came. Super Mario 3D All-Stars and Super Mario 35
y-
are no longer available for playing or purchase on the Nintendo eShop.
yes.
There are still physical copies of 3D All-Stars still available to, like, purchase in places like Walmart. I think Walmart still has it on sale for $10 off.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but as far as digital is concerned, it is over, and it's going to be over for the physical copy soon enough too.
Oh, yeah.
You even actually had some people trying to like report rumors that some stores like Nintendo New York actually were being told to remove their physical copies and send them back to Nintendo, but I feel like that's bogus.
I want to. I want to believe that that is bogus because I mean, like that just sounds so super anti-consumer. Uh,
That would be extremely scummy. Just like you have the copies already manufactured. Nope, let's just get them, burn them. It's
yeah,
over.
and as
Put them in the Nevada desert, like with all the ET copies.
and now, like with this game selling so well, it is still kind of puzzling the fact that they would do this because, like, you would think that it would be in their best interest to keep this game around, but I mean, obviously not. Honestly, this port wasn't even worth $60 to me because they could have done so much more with these. Like, these were supposed to be improved versions of the game. And, I have actually seen in the past Mario 64 running at 60 frames per second, and it looks so much better than the 30, probably sub 30, that that it runs on the Switch. And I know that the Switch is more than capable of pushing a greater frame rates when it comes to that. But either way, like people want to be able to play these classics. So, stupid move, Nintendo.
I mean, the plan worked. That's the thing. Like people still bought the games, and it sold millions of copies. So, as far as Nintendo is concerned, the plan worked. There were some people who like. This is the thing. In the last week or so before this, it was discontinued. Sales for the game actually rose like 200%.
That's such an that's such
So
an insane number.
So FOMO worked. The plan worked, and so I would not be surprised if Nintendo brings it back out again in the future.
I know that something like this will happen again in the future. Probably with Zelda games next.
I was gonna say Zelda still has like there's still plenty of Zelda anniversary to celebrate. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they messed it up because they only announced Skyward Sword so far," but y'all gotta remember that there's still plenty of year left. And on top of that, just before we started recording this, I was reading E3 is back.
Really?
In a digital only format, but E3 is going to return digital only format, and Nintendo has confirmed presence. So there is going to be a Nintendo Direct around E3.
That sounds very good to me. I can't wait to see
Like it's
what games
almost,
they end up announcing.
and of course there was multiple companies that supported the idea of a digital E3. You have Nintendo, Microsoft, of course, Ubisoft, Konami. Interesting enough,
Wow, that's hilarious. Are they going to
and
announce
I
like
believe
some new Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something?
no, probably a Silent Hill Pachinko machine.
Probably. It's not going to be a Metal Gear game, I suppose.
Um, the thing that people are actually thinking mostly is Pro Evolution Soccer because apparently they skipped over this past year,
Okay. All
and
right.
so it's going to be Pro Evolution Soccer, and I think the rumors are that it's going to be running on Unreal Engine 5. So
Really? Huh.
you know, yeah,
Huh.
possibly interesting stuff there, I guess. But
It could look
yeah,
pretty
no, don't
nice.
expect much out of Konami.
Of course not.
Sony, of course, is the missing link. Sony is probably gonna skip E3 again, but they'll probably do some sort of like little state of play thing
Yeah.
around the same time.
Honestly, like these standalone events have been working out pretty well for a lot of these companies. So I am surprised that they are agreeing to like go back to E3 and do this. Obviously, like the digital format here is going to be the way to go. I think that it's going to stay this way.
You think it's permanent?
I think so because it is just much more affordable to do. And I mean, like just considering everything that has been going on, uh, like this is just the smarter move overall. And I think, well, I can speak for myself when I say this, but I do prefer the Nintendo Direct style of like announcing games.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It makes sense, and they're probably gonna go with it this way from going forward. But I'm a little sad about it. Like it was always nice to have like those actual live crowds, the reactions.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like it
Like
would have been great to
there was
one day
something
go.
about E3. Like every single year, there was something about oh my god, it's E3 time. The press conference is about to begin. Let's go. As opposed to a digital show, which just doesn't feel like it has the same feel to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I mean, as somebody that's never been to E3, I can say that I have wanted to go to E3 at some point. But in my mind, at least, I'm pretty much kissing that dream goodbye because I don't think that they are going to end up going back to that format. But I will happily eat my words if they end up
I
uh,
mean,
doing that.
there's always PAX, over in Boston.
That
Which,
that
speaking
is true.
of, how was it?
It was great. Boston is such a beautiful city. The streets were
It
so
is.
clean. Yes, walking around was so nice. Uh,
It
eh,
it's nice. I wish I was able to, like, spend more time there. Most of my time in that area was, actually in one of the suburbs, the adjacent suburbs, but
oh, I see. I think we saw them
yeah.
like when we were going through the highway and stuff. Like you can see a bunch of big houses and all. Um,
Yeah.
but like the city portion of Boston, it is quite nice. I was not expecting that. People are very friendly over there too, which was such a departure from New York City.
Really? You
Yeah,
think so?
I I I think so, and I definitely plan on going back again at some point because so much that I wanted to do, but like we planned this to be like just like a 1 day trip. Like we go, we spend a little bit of time over there, and then we come back. And it's a 4 hour drive from New York City. So unfortunately, because we were sleepyheads, I woke up late. My friend woke up late, and we ended up meeting up at 11 instead of meeting up at 9. So that means that we ended up getting there at 3. And then we were only able to spend like 2 hours over there, and we left at around 5. But this time, because of traffic, it took us 5 hours to get back, so we made it back at around 10:30.
I mean, go back for PAX, you know?
Yeah, and the next time I go, well, hopefully I can actually like rent an Airbnb or something. I really don't know how that's going so far, but that would be very lovely.
Yes, yes.
But do you want to go back to Boston? It sounds like you do.
Yeah. Yes, I did not explore as much of the city as I wanted to. Most of my time was spent in the suburbs. It took a little bit of time to travel out there and, like, there were other obligations, so,
Yeah.
like, most of my time in Boston was just be getting into the city so I can travel to those suburbs, um, going to Fenway on my last day, and I think literally 10 minutes at the Boston Harbor, and that's it.
Oh man,
And
it
then a
sounds
little bit of a shopping center. Not a whole lot, no. My Boston experience was mostly just Fenway Park, which beautiful ballpark for people who care about baseball. Baseball's back. Hey, opening day, yeah. Um, it's a very beautiful park, but not
Yeah.
a whole lot of the city itself I was really able to explore.
Well, next time we'll make sure that you get to spend more time in Boston. But with that said, like before this episode ends, there was also like another piece of news that I wanted to address, and that's the fact that the
Marth is
PlayStation
dead.
Store.
Because remember, you have to remember, Mario died, but so did Marth, because the Fire Emblem game stopped.
Oh no. I did not even know that. That's unfortunate. Dude.
Yeah. Oh.
Why is everything dying? Why? Well,
Nintendo decided they don't like their characters anymore.
yeah. Like they're too profitable. We don't want them here. Take them out.
It's all about Splatoon now.
I mean, in the
Oh,
video
come
games,
on.
I know.
I like Splatoon. Come on.
All right, like this is like a 50-50 here. I'm not a fan of Splatoon. This guy is Christopher, but something else died, and that was the PlayStation Store, the PlayStation 3 Store, PSP Store, and PlayStation Vita Store, which people
Oh,
are
there's a
upset about.
lot to talk about that. There's a lot. I feel like that should be held for like the next episode
Sure thing, sure thing, no problem.
because
Uh,
there's a lot of conversations that can be had about that.
yeah, especially regarding like games preservation and things like that, and them doing something to try and like entice people to not pirate these older games. But it seems like that's not really their priority. So with that said, since this is going to be a much bigger topic, we are going to be leaving this one for next time around. However, I would like to
Stay
say,
tuned.
yeah, indeed. Thanks to all of you for jumping into tonight's episode. We did take a week off. However, we are back at it again, and I can't believe that we are 40 episodes in. There were so many things to talk about as well.
40 episodes, yes. It's funny because, we've bounced around between doing it twice a week, once a week. In this past case, 0 times a week. But
right, yeah.
the thing is, when you hear, because usually with a lot of podcasts, they tend to be weekly. So when you hear 40 episodes, you're thinking that you're close to a year in, and we're like 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
It essentially gets cut by like half, even though there was a point where we were doing these these episodes weekly, and then we switched over to twice a week, and then again to weekly, and then back to twice a week. So it has been an experience for sure.
And we are going to be increasing because of the Patreon. That's right.
Indeed. So please make sure to take a look at the text on my Patreon. There are going to be bonus episodes over there, which are going to be uncensored as well.
We get to say bad words.
We do. We get to say the M word, meanie mobini. With that said, social media is going to be down here, and if you're listening, please make sure to take a look at the description. And with that said, this has been Francisco
and Chris,
and we'll be seeing you all next time for episode number 41. Enjoy.
Good night. Travel well.